Law enforcement is playing such an important role in this border crisis. Sheriff Wilmot, Yuma County, you guys are going through, you got to be seeing it all morning, noon, and night. Talk a little bit about the way your deputies interact with Border Patrol and what kind of that looks like to people who may not know what it's like here at the border.
For us as the Sheriff's Office, our concern is obviously that criminal element that so often follows what the cartels are exploiting right now, and that's the family unit crisis. So I've got my troops helping Border Patrol fill the gap on the border. Because right now, because of the amount of folks that are coming across, about 50% of the Border Patrol's agents are stuck in their main office doing paperwork. So we're missing about half of what's coming across. The last word that we had was over 800,000 apprehensions along the southwestern border. Of that, they've caught 6,000 criminals who've been convicted in the U.S. of a crime, served their time, was expelled, and then now they're trying to sneak back in. The scary part is you've had over 72,000 unaccompanied children on top of that. The real scary part for us in Arizona is 63,000 have been getaways on top of that. So we have 63,000 individuals who have come in our border between the ports of entry, entered illegally, and we don't know who they are, what their intents are, or what country they're from. Because right now you're looking at 144 different countries of that 800,000. Right. Now you have, on top of that, 200,000 total getaways across the whole southwestern border. So you've got over 1 million folks already this fiscal year for Border Patrol. 40,000 of those were just in Yuma sector, and we have 115 miles of international boundary. So my detention transport folks working on overtime through Operation Stone Garden are actually driving the transport vans to help Border Patrol keep their agents out on the line.
When we got here, we saw one of them. We drove right by us, and they had just, I think, apprehended a group of migrants right by us.
Yeah, they've had 15 so far that they've transported. Honduras, Valenzuela, and Cuba is what they've had today. 300 apprehensions yesterday. A fellow sheriff, a friend of mine that's in Del Rio, Texas, they had 538 yesterday down there in his town, and it's a lot smaller than Yuma.
I was watching over the weekend, and my listeners were calling in about the drone footage over the weekend that Fox News was showing of a handful of men. Two of the men looked like they were handcuffed to each other, which suggests that maybe they had been in law enforcement custody prior to coming across the border. No one could quite understand that.
Yeah, neither can I on that aspect of it, but the concern we have is that criminal element out on our eastern desert right now. Right. And the lack of prosecution by the U.S. Attorney's Office on drug smugglers. Right. So my Border Patrol partners are out there. They're intercepting groups of 6 at a time, smuggling hundreds of pounds of meth. Right. Why is it our U.S. Attorney's Office isn't charging these people is beyond me. So if you don't have a consequence delivery from our federal government on drug smugglers, that means Border Patrol would have to let them go. That's meth.
We're watching this mindset of prosecutors, whether it's, shoplifting charges in San Francisco, they're decriminalizing shoplifting, and here at the border it's no different, I think. There's a failure now, a lack of will to prosecute the bad guys.
And I don't understand that dynamic, because you look at these states right now where they're defunding police. Now their homicide rates have gone up, their assaults are through the roof, the robberies, the rapes. All that's gone up through the roof. So it's a different mindset back east, but right here, they're in my jail now. They're not going to go unpunished. So if you commit a crime coming in through Yuma County, you're going to go to jail. So.
Sheriff, are your deputies demoralized from this sort of lack of will on the part of the federal government to try to, because again, the perception across the country is there's a crisis here at the border.
Well, there's a critical crisis going on right now along the southwestern border, and the deputies, just like our Border Patrol partners, they're demoralized even more. And it's our officers that are telling them, keep up the work. We're there to support you.
You're lifting them. Your guys are lifting them up.
Exactly. And unfortunately, this administration has put a gag order on our federal partners too, where I don't have a gag order. I was elected by the people. I work for the people, and I'm going to tell the facts. So whether you like it or not, and Now the new mantra is that they're non-citizens. Well, I'm sorry. The Code of Federal Regulations law that Congress put into effect, they're illegal immigrants. So call it what it is.
Textbook.
Exactly.
It's in the book.
Exactly.
Does from your perspective, from law enforcement's perspective here in Yuma County, does this get better or does this get worse? Is there any way this improves?
You know, I told Mayorkas personally, the only thing that's going to work is that if you go back to Operation Streamline, 100% prosecution. You come in between the port of entry, you're committing a crime, you're going to be charged. It's the only thing that's going to work.
That's not happening with this administration.
It's not. I mean, you've even got an appointee for DOJ who's totally anti-law enforcement, calling law enforcement KKK of nowadays. It just makes no sense to me.
So how do you come to work facing what you're facing? I mean, because you're not getting the support you need to do the job.
Well, because we need to do what's right, and our citizens back us 100% along the border. I could care less what somebody 2,000 miles away from the border impression is of what the border is. I live it every day. I've been in law enforcement for 37 years now.
You mean
down here on the border?
You mean you're not worried about what somebody at NBC in Washington, or you're not worried about what CNN thinks about how you feel?
No, no. I work for the people of Yuma County, and I'm their voice, and that's what sheriffs can do, is be their voice. Chiefs can't. Mayors are different. Sheriff's a lot different.
Well, my mission, away from the radio show, we support fallen law enforcement, and we publish something called the First Responders Bible, and we support the families of law enforcement who've been killed in the line of duty. Gallagher's Heroes, the Fallen Officer Fund. Our audience is pro-law enforcement, and on behalf of the millions of people who support what you're doing, I hope you know that we're lifting you guys up every single day, what you're going through.